The Big Idea Design Lookout, it's pretty awesome. And it is the knife you've been on the lookout for. What is there to say about it other than the fact that it is awesome? Well, I'm gonna break this video down into 3 parts. First of all, I'm gonna talk about little fixed blades in general. So if you already are completely sold on having a little fixed blade, or you already know your thoughts on that, then feel free to skip this first part. Secondly, I'm gonna talk about the sheath because a very important part of a fixed blade is the sheath. And third, I'm gonna talk about the knife itself. Right up front, the short of it is it's an amazing knife and it's an amazing system. But there are some caveats and some things that you should at least know about before you go ahead and purchase one. So I'm gonna get into those in this video. Really quick, I want to lay out some of the big differences between fixed blades and folders. Some of the pros, some of the cons. So fixed blades tend to be cheaper, more durable, easier to maintain, but they also tend to be more conspicuous. If you've ever had a big old fixed blade on your belt and not wanted to go out in public with it because of the weird looks you'll get, having a pocketable, small fixed blade like this definitely helps a lot. However, it's not 100% inconspicuous. With how far this blade or how far the handle sticks out of your pocket, it still is quite conspicuous. So I really wouldn't want to be walking into a high-end event where that might be frowned upon, corporate setting, school, something where I might be fine with just my pocket clip showing. However, this is a little bit more obvious. Something I forgot to mention a second ago is that these are also a lot faster to deploy. If you've ever had an OTF and you've noticed that if you're gonna cut open a box or something like that, you pull it out, it's ready to go. Versus a folder, yes, you can flick them pretty quickly, but when you pull out a fixed blade, it's ready to go, 100%. All right, let's talk about the sheath. So the sheath is got its pros and cons. The retention on the sheath, absolutely fantastic. I rolled around on the floor with the kids, wrestling, whatnot, did not come out. That is a problem I've noticed with some pocket clips and whatnot. The clip that holds the sheath to the pocket is extremely strong. That takes quite a bit to take it off. And then the knife itself does not come out. All right, another con that might be a pro for some people is how short that sheath is. So when you put this thing in your pocket, it doesn't go down very far. So if you're a female or somebody with really small pockets, then this sheath is gonna fit in your pocket no problem. For me, I would much rather have more of my handle down in my pocket. It just makes the whole thing much more inconspicuous. And the other thing is the balance. So it's a little bit more heavy on the front end, but if you're gonna put brass scales or something like that, it's gonna become top heavy. And maybe they never intend to release brass scales. I want to make some brass scales myself, even if they don't. And then this clip or this sheath is going to become a problem when I do that. Another thing I want to point out is that when you have this in your pocket, right? Your pant line, I'm going to try and get a video of this. All right, so if your pants are up here and you pull out that blade, you have all this edge that can cut the end of your pants. So I really don't love the fact that the sheath doesn't come up to the same height as the top of the clip. I'm very afraid that I'm gonna end up slicing the pocket on my pants. And that's just not something I wanna have to worry about. I also want to point out this little hole here at the bottom of the clip. If you get any rain or any other kind of fluids in there, they're just gonna drain out the bottom, so that way your blade isn't just sitting in fluids, which is really fantastic. Love to see that. It also ships with 2 sheaths, left and right. Personally, I've only used the right so far, but I do like the ability, at least in the future, to be able to try out maybe carrying the fixed blade on my left side and still have a folder on my right. I don't know if I will ever actually do that, but I have the option. I sort of wish that they just let you pick left or right and that way you could save 10-15 bucks. I don't know how expensive these things are to make, but hey, you know what? Having two options is never a bad thing. So my biggest gripe with this sheath is just that it doesn't come up higher. Hopefully Paradrop or some other leather maker creates a sheath that's more slip-like that can go down further, and then I'll end up putting a lanyard on it to help get it out. That's basically all I have to say about the sheath. Now let's get on to the knife itself. I have relatively small hands, so keep that in mind. I can get a wonderful grip on this thing. So it's not a big blade, but I think it's wonderfully sized. I mean, if you want a bushcraft knife where you're just out in the woods, you probably want something a little bit bigger. But if you're going out in public, you don't want to have if you're switching back and forth between being out in the woods, being in public, or maybe you're at like a public campground or something where you just want to be a little bit more inconspicuous, I think this is a fantastic kind of go-between. You've got that full tang on there, so super solid, super rigid, wonderful grip on there. I think that this is going to be a great size skinning knife. If you have too big of a knife when you're field dressing something, you're going to end up cutting something you don't want to, and that gets gross. So I think that this is going to be a great size knife. I'll probably end up bringing this hunting. Something I do want to note on that is the scales. Very smooth. I love them. They're very clean, and for everyday carry, I think they're perfect. However, if they get covered in blood, they're going to get very slick, and it's just not going to be a good day. So I would love to see Big Idea Design or somebody come out with aftermarket scales. They're very easily swapped. I've already taken them off. I'd love to see some textured scales that I could put on there for if I'm hunting or something like that. I'd also just love to see scales for customization. Instead of having to buy a whole new knife every time, just more scales. Another thing to note is if you are out in the woods, it's raining, maybe you went through a creek or you just skinned a deer, whatever the case. If you get a lot of liquid in here, I've tested this a couple times, if you quickly submerge it and even some heavy rain, you're actually going to get water under the scales. It's not fully sealed. And if you let that sit there, it's probably going to end up causing some rust on the blade. So if you're out in some nasty environments, I would recommend pulling your scales off when you get back home and just making sure everything is completely cleaned off and dry before you put it away. So yeah, those are my thoughts. I think it's a phenomenal little knife. I think it's a great go-between if you're kind of out in the world and then you want to go into the woods and you just want something that is durable and capable. I've cut rope with this thing. I've cut up some small trees. I'm not going to be cutting down a tree or anything like that, but just some small branches and whatnot, getting some kindling going, getting shavings for starting a fire. This thing is going to do a phenomenal job there. And then as far as, you know, opening boxes or whatever your daily life may contain, I mean, this thing cuts through cardboard, dulls your blade, but if that's the kind of thing you do with your knife, it's going to be just fine. If you're cutting a lot of boxes open and you want to just get through that tape really quick, I mean, having a fixed blade, instant deployment, right? So that's a huge plus. So yeah, if you're walking into places like a school or somewhere where it's not really socially acceptable to have a knife on you, that is going to be the one time where you're probably going to want to leave this one at home and go for something that either sits in your pocket or only the pocket clip is visible. If somebody comes out with a sheath that allows this to sit deeper in my pocket and kind of prevent my pocket from getting cut open when using it, definitely going to pick one of those up. But with the knife itself, I have absolutely no complaints. I do love this thing, and I've been carrying it a lot since I got it, and I'm definitely going to be carrying it a lot this summer. Thank you very much for watching all the way to the end, and if you want to see more content like this, please hit that subscribe button, and I will attempt to make more of these videos in the future. Let me know what your honest thoughts are, and if you subscribe, I will see you in the next one.